At this point, the crew is yelling at him. I am going up. Oh. Now he doesn't have a choice. He's going to make an evasive action.
It's kind of like NASCAR.
And then on the committee boat, you're going to see the flag go up when they start. He's already over the line early. And there, the flag came down. That's when they start, right there. So that's a perfect case of getting to the line too early. This there's 3 starting lines. So there's a start line down at the bottom, and then there's one in the middle, and then there's one at the very top, because there's so many boats in this fleet. So that was a pretty good start, right? I mean, apart from the one guy, everyone kind of got there almost on time.
Ross,
Yeah.
from the committee boat, that looks like a hell of a short line for that start. We tend to, I believe, make the line long, so there's lots of room. Good or bad?
Good. Very good.
So a longer line better than a short line.
Well, I mean, I guess there's 2 ways to look at it, but the danger in it is if it becomes favored, and like they showed in the example there, that if one boat gets away on a favored long line, then chances of catching them up can be more difficult in a short race. But as far as keeping the pandemonium down to a minimum, it's probably the best way to do it for sure. And if the committee is proactive and they're trying their best to keep it square, whether they're letting the anchor line out or whatever they can do up until the 4 minutes goes, then it's probably the best way to do it. It gives everyone a chance. And the worst thing about a short line is that the shorter the line, the less winners there are, because only so many boats can not only fit through there, but as time rolls on, you get a minute in the race, they're giving bad air to everyone, so you get 2 clear boats with an advantage, and the rest are kind of chasing down. So,
isn't there a general rule of 1.5 times the total boat length?
Yeah, that's a sort of a loose, round-the-world race committee rule, 1.5 times the boat length, depending what type of boats you have. If everyone's racing together, I think it's interesting. Open to discussion. Let's look at one more here. So this one's really crowded.
Have to bleed us across. We start very
So the one thing I really like about this example is there's a couple things here. As they approach the line, there's even some boats that they've got furling jibs and they haven't even pulled them out yet. And there's some that have taken the thought, well, if we don't stay on the front line, there's not going to be any air behind the front line because the line is so short, so we have to be on the front line. And it's kind of the opposite of what we would think is the best way to start, but because the air is so light, boats throw so much bad air, it's the only thing that they could do to make the most out of it. And as you can see, they've got the flag up here for the individual recall. And I'm not sure who it is. I mean, it hasn't crossed the starting line yet.
numbers on your head, so.
So in strong winds, you're better off being a pusher. You can be a little bit later and know that the boats that are in front, even if they are giving you a bit of bad air, it's not really going to slow you down much. But in light air, like the previous example, you have to be a bit of a leader. You have to be one of the first of line, so you've got clear air and more air to accelerate in. So this is a good example of a hodgepodge of boats. And some of you guys, I'm sure, picked up on this last one here where the, here it is here, ready to start. Watch the guy on the top by the committee boat. He thinks he can get in there. But now we say, okay, we made it in, but oh yeah, we still got 10 seconds to go. Yeah. So and it's a common mistake, and we all make it. He says, okay, well now I'm on the line, there's still time to go. The only thing I can do to make myself clear is to bear off and get behind the line again. Well, all the boats to leeward have the right of way, so he's stuck there. And then, for whatever reason, here it comes again, you're going to see here, he goes through here, he's already over the line, so he's got to return to start. And now, for whatever reason, he waits too long. So what he should have done here, he can't bear off, he should have just tacked, gone around the committee boat, and restarted. And he might have even gotten lucky as he came around the committee boat, he might have had a nice lane of wind, and even though he's a boat length or two behind, probably wouldn't have been so bad, but he waits too long. Now, this is a good example of what we don't see too much, but a heavy air start. You can see the size of the waves. It's a short chop, and when you get in that short chop, even though it's strong air and you think that the boat's going to accelerate really well, the short chop really slows you down. And so it can really, really affect your timing. So that's probably about 25 or more knots of wind, maybe 30. So the thing I like about this shot is, you know, this is a Key West race week, a big international regatta with a lot of the crews are professional and everyone's, you know, spent a lot of money to be there. And probably what's happened here is not only is it windy, but they've probably finished a race, you know, half an hour before that. And they've sent some of the crew down below to pack the spinnaker for the next race and bring up the lunch and all that sort of stuff. Yet in the meantime, the committee's done what they normally do, is they've got the race course ready to start another race. Maybe they want to run 3 races in a day. And all these guys are late to the line. You know, so they just by coming across the line and sort of, you know, not spending the required 2 or 3 minutes just getting ready for the next one before they tuck into their sandwiches, they've kind of, you know, possibly had their worst result here. And the other thing I can think of here is maybe if the wind did come up, maybe some of them were caught out and had to change sails or something like that. But it's shocking how many of these boats weren't at the line. So here's another long start line. With this view, you get a good idea of what people are doing to protect their hole on the line and accelerate as well. And you can see that the boats that are a little bit late are just getting later and later and later because they're in bad air. And they can't accelerate. They can't get to the same speed as the boats that are in the front line.
Yeah.
Is that a double line?
That's a double line as well. He's not racing. So when you're thinking about how am I going to set up for a starting line, there's a good example right in the beginning of this, just a quick one. Is you've got one boat here on port jibe coming towards, and these guys are fighting for a hole on the line. And at some point, this guy realizes that he's never going to get to the line with those two boats there. So his start's already gone bad, so he's bailed out and he's gone the other way. That's the least worst case scenario.
He actually does quite well on board. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, in the end, he's not that far behind. Now this one, this is more typical of what we usually sail in here, where you've got to think about when you're going to accelerate, because there's not much wind. You can see here that the rich just get richer because they're getting out into the clear air. And so for this guy who's won the start, he's timed it perfectly. The one thing he's done really, really well is he hasn't gotten below the line where you either have to tack or head up something that would slow his boat down to make it around the committee boat there. So I think the one thing that they don't describe there, goes back to what we were talking about before, is, you know, to control your opponent. Obviously, if you're tight in to leeward versus the windward boat, then you can control at what time you actually want to slow the boat down or speed the boat up, and because you're the one that has all the cards in your hand. However, if you're the windward boat and you've got someone to leeward of you that's slowing you down and you think is going to affect your start, well, then you got a few options. One is, if there's room on the line, you can even go head to wind, or you can even tack to port for 10, 20 seconds and tack back and try and make some distance for yourself, so in the remaining 30, 40 seconds you can accelerate and get your speed back up and get through the line. It's going to take, you know, some coordination with the crew, and you know, and it's all about working as a team for sure and getting the boat back up to speed, especially if you're having to do 2 quick tacks. But yeah, just remember, whatever, you know, they're throwing at you, you can throw back at them to some extent.
The only thing that we've had in that is where we've got five or six boats coming on, and you're the leeward boat. So it's leeward all the way up. What's considered, depending upon who you are, safe room? I mean, you can force this guy up. He's got to force everything up. Where?
The chain reaction.
Well, you get the chain reaction. What about if the last guy has nowhere to go?
Yeah, and that's.
But does that affect, like, so does the first guy, is he at fault for pushing everybody up into the last guy?
Yeah, and basically how it works is, if there's distance between, say you're the most leeward boat, and you're all on starboard, if there's, you know, distance in between you and the next boat, and you want to come up, and the other boat starts to come up, but then says, I can't go up anymore, because there's another boat next to me that can't give me that room, well then you have to be pretty careful not to hit that boat, because if it's true, you could be in the wrong. However, if they're bluffing you, then they're in the wrong. So it has to be proven along the line. And so, yeah, it's a bit of a chain reaction. I always try and get what I want out of that if I'm, you know, in the middle or that sort of thing. And the one thing you want to try